Hello everyone, myself Vaibhav Jawan. Today I am going to present a PPT for a subject machine learning and application. The title of a PPT is Detection of Phishing Website Based on Extreme Machine Learning. In this presentation, I am going to explain basic idea for detection of phishing site using machine learning. So let's get start with it. First, the introduction. Phishing is a type of extensive fraud that happens when a malicious site acts like a real one. Uh, the basic goal of this site is to create a copy site or a website to get some details or data of a user, such as the password of a user, username of a user, some account points of interest, which might help them to uh, which might help uh, fisher to get access of your social media accounts or anything, or it can be the attempt to get your details of your online banking, uh, such as mastercard or any type of debit or credit card details. In spite of the fact that there are few contrary to phishing program and methods for distinguishing potential phishing endeavors in message and identifying phishing subset of sites, Fisher thinks new and brief strategies to go around the accessible program and system. Here, many times, the fisher, the person who is creating the phishing site, tries to get a hybrid method or a different mm, different variation of methods to get access of a user, uh, in to get access of a user. Here I want to mention that there are some tools which create links to and which create links or which create pages, or we can say fake pages of a real site to get access of users data. There are some tools, in Kali Linux or Linux, where such as there was one tool called uh, there was what tool called Shark Eye or something, which was creating one duplicate site when a link was forwarded to the unknown user of some specific account or social media account. When he accesses that link, the he can see, or he can get diverted to the fishy site, which which quite look like a original site, but when initially when the user try to access it for first time, when he enters his ID password, it denies the password and divert that user to the original page. And when the user tries to access the original site and he enter the user credentials there, he goes to the original link. But in between these, the first page was who was which was created by the uh, we can say fisher or hacker. He gets the credential of the original user, which was his ID and password of that particular site. So this is how the site accesses. uh, Moving forward, the main goal of the phishing site is to get access of your mm, credentials, such as mastercard, or your personal data, which can help them to access your accounts or get your passwords. So getting forward to next slide. Phishing detection. In phishing, email detection based on structure structure proposed. The proposed approach explain to find phishing through appropriate identification and using some use of structural proposed on email. Basically, the email is passed to the user. When he accesses the email, he get diverted to the unwanted site, and who he she do not understand that it's a duplicate or a fake site. He gets enters his credential and give his valuable data to someone who can misuse it. The experiment is done by SVM and classification technique to classify phishing email. The emails are classified uh, using SVM technique. The technique is used to identify fishy emails which is low in efficiency and scalability. This is purely based on structural structure propose of email, and it has to extend more structural or content properties to reduce error result, where we can say the best or the exact replica of the original site the hacker or fisher create, there are the more chances to get access of users details. The links are created or the fake web pages are created, and this is how the phishing is done. Or this the and the same way, the one who can identify the phishing page, who can detect the phishing pages. Here's the proposed system. The proposed algorithm is based on automated real-time phishing detection and machine learning process. The phishing URL mostly have connection between the parts of the URL, which means interrelations of, and by using it, the features of phishing URL are extracted. The extracted features help real-time detection of phishing sites using machine learning classification. Moving to next slide. Here is the literature survey. Uh, the survey is divided in 3 points. The first is blacklisting, whitelisting approach. In blacklisting and whitelisting approach, it is based on a blacklist or a whitelist of identify blacklist or whitelist to identify if the currently visited site is either a phishing or legitimate website respectively. The main disadvantage of blacklist and whitelist based approach is that it can't differentiate the uh, between the newly created phishing site. So it kindly stores the previous data, and when the hacker or fisher creates the new phishing site, it can't detect it because it doesn't have a particular data to uh, to the particular data to say that this is a phishing site or it is not, to identify the site. The next point is intelligent heuristic approach. This approach In this approach, some features of website are gathered. The malicious website are gathered and are means the features are gathered, then an algorithm or a bunch of features are gathered and computerized such as to identify the sites which behaves like one phishing site. These significant features of most of the website can be utilized as training database. So the the different sites which are phishing sites, the phishing sites are monitored and collect the data is collected from them, and one database is created, so we can distinguish the different sites, and we can we can tell that this is phishing site or not, so we can identify between them. Then the machine learning technique are trained then the machine learning techniques are trained based and prepared training database dataset in order to efficiently classify the sites are either phishing or not. And the therefore the intelligence heuristic based approach are able to efficiently detect newly created phishing site. The new point is machine learning. Machine learning focus on the developing the computer computerized algorithm, so we can detect a newly created site or any other site. Basically, in this approach, we have uh, uh, basically we are focusing on some popular mechanism. There are many. In this approach, we are focusing on some of them, which contains back propagated neural network (BPNN), support vector machining, machine VM, SVM, uh, random forest RF, and many others. Proposed system. Here is how the system should work. We have to collect the data from the different sites which are malicious or which contains diversions for phishing. Then the data is pre-processed. That data is pre-processed to identify the particular site is malicious or not. Then the feature extensions. In feature extensions, the site address based features are identified, abnormal features are identified, HTML or JavaScript features are identified, domain features are identified, how the domain is registered, what is the extension of domain and all. Then the next process come here, machine learning. In under machine learning, selecting attributes are done, finding ranges are done, finding thresholds are done. Then the process continues with classification process. The two type of classification is done here. First is phishing URL, which is fake one, and legitimate URL, which is real site or your links to access. Phishing URL here, the phishing URL are stored in blacklisted database, and the legitimate URL are stored in whitelisted database, and then the data is uh, performed or evaluated, where we can say when the pre-processing is done, when the pop-up of a UML or site is occurring in our display or screen, the the machine learning mechanism pre-process that UML to study, and it identify if it is a phishing site or not, and it alert us to access it or not. Moving to the next point, modular extension. Modules extension. The preprocessed methodology imports dataset of phishing and legitimate URL for the database, and then the imported data is preprocessed. Identifying phishing website is performed based on the following categories of URL featuring domain, address, attributes, HTML, JavaScript features. The UML features are the UML feature are extracted with processed data and value from each UML attribute. The analysis of UML is performed using machine learning technique, which computes the range value and the threshold value of UML attributes. Then it is defined that whether these sites, then it is concluded that if this particular site is phishing or legitimate, the UML which we have received is phishing UML or legitimate site. The attribute value are computed using feature extraction of phishing websites, and it is used to obtain the range value of and threshold value. The value for each phishing attribute is range from -1, 0 to 1. These values are defined as low, medium, and high values. The classification of phishing and legitimate website is based on the values of attributes extracted using different types of phishing categories and machine learning approaches. Here, UML feature analysis. The phishing features are extracted using each URL. Define whether the site is phishing or legitimate. The URL of anchor tag attribute is selected to identify the values. The overlap values in the some summary of selected attributes values, which is combined with other attributes. Finding attributes value, the attributes value of the UML is computed using corresponding set of attributes values, which are -1, 0 to 1. The attributes UML of anchor tag are prefix suffix as having interlink values, and that needs to be computed for finding range of and threshold values. Extreme learning machines ELM. Extreme learning machine ELM is feed forward artificial neural network ANN method model, and it has a single hidden layer for the ANN in order to ensure a high performance learning. Permanent such as threshold values, weight, and activeness of activeness and required functions must be required function must have the appropriate value for the data set to be module. Basically, these are the steps following. I am not going to deep into it. It's just we are going to move on to purpose algorithm. It's just a basic algorithm. It is not in detail. Here is what we are going to do for detection of URL, if it is legitimate or not. First, import propose proposed data. We have to collect that data, we have to import it, extract the features of UML. We have to get whatever features the URL provides. Compute attribute values, such as if attribute present value equal to 1, attribute absent value equal to -1, attribute not considered at the value is 0. Select attribute x and y, compute equation for x and y, calculate threshold value for attribute x and y, finding range value, selecting attributes to get threshold value, then distinguish phishing or legitimate site using attribute value, and computes what is necessary or sensitivity and specification. So specificity, sorry. Here conclusion. We define features of phishing attack, and thus propose a model in order to classify of the phishing attack. It consists of phishing extraction from website and classifying section. Basically, we we distinguish if the site is phishing or not by uh, categorizing in three parts. This is what we all do here, and at last the user have to understand if the particular site he or she is accessing is malicious or not. He have to pay attention towards the details of the site, so he or she do not get his valuable data may misplaced to someone who can create some danger to you by it. That's it with this topic. Again, my topic was detection of phishing website based on extreme machine learning. It was just basic how we can do it. It was not in detailed. Myself Vaibhav, and that's it.